I wrote the GMAT also, which was a paper-based test, not an online test. In fact, the GRE also. So again, because I had actually prepared through my life, so I didn't really have to prepare. But yes, with some amount of coaching myself with the timing and everything, I got a perfect score on the GMAT.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So, sir, I am sure that most of the people will already know you because of the amazing work that you're doing. But still, for the audience, can you give us a brief introduction about yourself?
All right. Yeah. Hi. So this is Sandeep Gupta. I am a GMAT instructor and I'm the founder of the Institute Top 1%. And we are known for creating outstandingly good scores. Top 1% means the scores in the 99th percentile, that is 716 upwards. And we also help students with the admissions counseling services wherever they want to go across the world. So this is the relevant introduction that I have. Obviously, I do a lot more things, but I think this is the
Yes.
relevant one. Right.
Yes, sir. So, sir, you scored 800 on 800 in GMAT. Like,
That
not
is
only in
true.
GMAT, but also in GRE, you scored like the perfect
Yes,
score. So,
that's
what
true.
were your preparation strategies behind it? Because not once, twice, but thrice you scored it. So, yeah.
Right, right. So I'm not sure whether this would directly help a student because see, it's not something that was planned in my case. I just happened to be born in a family where reading per se and general stress on language and vocabulary and presenting, all of this was like part of my growing up years. So I used to read a lot, although it didn't really help me much, but helped me in the sense that clear an exam. But I would still believe that there was some contribution when I grew up, like everybody else, cat was the one thing that was prevalent back then as well. So it was in 1995 that I ended up writing the cat, and I got through IIM Ahmedabad, but I did not like it there. So I dropped out of IIM Ahmedabad after 47 days. And because I'd written the cat, so I thought, what would be a career option for a dropout right now? Suddenly, nobody would give me a job. So I started a cat training company in Ahmedabad. And since then, it became an obsession to clear more and more and more aptitude tests. So the next in line was the GRE. I wrote it at that time. That was way back, and it was 2400 marks at that time. And I got a perfect 2400 at that time. Test prep industry, and the journey has just gone on. That's the background.
So, sir, if we talk about the syllabus of GRE or GMAT, it is more or less same or it varies a lot?
Not the same. I'll just give you some brief idea. So, analytical writing is one area which is common. Although on the GRE there are two components to it, GMAT has only one component. So, in GRE you have issue and argument. In GMAT you only have argument. That is one. And apart from that, in the verbal section, the difference is quite stark. The GRE tests a lot of vocabulary. The GMAT does not test any vocabulary directly. It tests what is called grammar in the form of sentence correction. There is a component which is called critical reasoning, which is way bigger on the GMAT, which is way less on the GRE. And reading comprehension is the third thing, which is, I think, more or less everyone in India dreads. That is more difficult on the GRE and a little less difficult on the GMAT. So, this is about the verbal thing. In the quant section, you can say that the GRE quant is way easier and the GMAT quant section is way tougher. So this is, I think, the general idea. But yeah, more or less, both exams need solid preparation, whichever you're going for, because both of them give you outstandingly good outcomes with respect to American universities and other things. So I think if you're looking at what the differences are, I'll repeat in the quant section, the GMAT is a little more difficult, more tricky. The GRE is a little less difficult, less tricky in quant, but in verbal, you can say GRE is a notch higher, and the GMAT has sentence correction, which is grammar. GRE has vocabulary in many formats, and that's it. So I guess this is the basic difference. And if you have specific questions related to it, I can really cover. But this is the basic difference. But okay, some people also ask me which is the test for us to write. So right now it's very clear if you want to go for non-management courses, definitely non-business courses, it is the GRE. But the GRE is also accepted these days by a few business courses, very, very extensively accepted in fact. Although it remains the second preference overall in the exam. So if it's a business course, anything to do with finance, business studies, management studies, MBA, MS, and any of these things, marketing, masters in management, generally you should write the GMAT. So that's the idea. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
okay.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
like, even I am a college student, and many of my friends, so there's a lot of buzz about ki when should we start preparing for GMAT in your second year? Some people start preparing it from their first year itself. So, according to you, are there any particular amount of months or years like that a student would require for
So
preparation?
I believe if you are a general, generally, let's say an engineering
Hmm.
student, for example, you are kind of supposed to be a little better at quantitative aptitude than verbal. That's the general. Okay, once again, it could differ in one particular case. In such a case, if one prepares with college or with work, whatever the situation, it could be internship or work, I guess one can prepare very thoroughly in 3 to 4 months for either exam, but about 3 hours a day of input. And this, now when should you start? I guess either second year or third year would be the ideal time, because final year is a little late, because you want to apply immediately and you want to really get going in it. So you just do not have the time, and because there's a lot of component regarding the admissions part, SOP and essays and resume and so on. So there's that takes a lot of time, interview preparation and letters of recommendation, transcripts, TOEFL, IELTS. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that one has to really go through to get finally an admit. So my answer would always be to do it best in second year. If not, then third year is ideal. You don't let it go into the fourth year of engineering or final year of any undergraduate studies. So if you are doing a 3 year undergrad, in that case, second year is ideal. And if you're doing a 4 year undergrad, then second or third year. Ideally, second year, because engineering always involves more number of internships, etc. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think as you mentioned that you started your reading habits and everything from the very like early age. So I think verbal is something that cannot like you cannot cover it in 1 year or 2 years. Like you have to develop that habit from the very
No,
start.
I think in one sense you are right if
Hmm.
it is for CAT
Yeah.
mostly, but
Hmm.
GMAT and GRE, that is why they're called standardized tests. There is a reason. The tests are so predictable, and so in a way you can prepare for them so well even if you don't read, with the right kind of techniques and the right kind of content. The only problem is that for these two exams, the amount of material available and so much irrelevant material is available, that is so much. So we tend to really get into a mess as to what to study, what to leave. But I don't think one has to be a great reader or one has to have read for many years to clear these exams at all. Frankly, there are so many instances of students coming to me who say the same thing to me, that I've never read anything. In fact, I say it's a good thing you've not done so, because for these two exams, having done prior reading is not compulsory, but you have to do approach reading and verbal with a completely different technique. We Indians use a very different kind of language. Even if we speak English, the intuition that we build over the years is so different from the actual English that is tested, and language that is tested in a way. So I guess if you can get past the language cover and just get into the logic side of things, these are not language based exams. They are all for the Chinese, for the Japanese, for the Koreans, for the Africans, for the Indians. So language is not particularly the element. That is where we misinterpret these exams. These are logic based exams. So if you remove the language cover, I think the exams can be prepared without having done any reading also. So that's good news for most people here, because we don't really do a lot of
Yeah.
reading growing up here. Yes.
Yeah.
Anything else here?
So this was a myth that was there in my head also that I have to do a lot of reading. I am like really happy that it is clear now.
Great.
Yeah. So, sir, as you talked about the materials and courses, there are so many courses available and materials available online for GMAT. So, what should
Mhm.
a student opt for out of so many
Okay.
courses that are there?
Right, right, right. So, see, in terms of materials, what I'll suggest is anything that is non-official content. So every institute, for example, that prepares you for GMAT offers two types of material: official and non-official. My answer is you should study only the official material for the verbal part. That doesn't mean only the official guides. There's a lot of extra content which is officially released over the years. Even 30 years ago, some material was released, but that was officially released for the GRE, for the GMAT. Even if the exams have changed, their basic quant and verbal, these two things have not changed. So if you go for any source which is non-real GMAT or non-real GRE, in that case, at least in verbal, you're wasting a lot of time. So, and there is ample available from the official content itself. So that is one. And courses for GMAT, see, depends on what your target is. Somebody might be very happy, for example, let's say GMAT. Somebody might be very happy getting a slightly lower score because that person is targeting something only in Canada or only in Germany or only a lower rung university, a lower rung business school. For that, if someone's target itself is 650, 670, 680, that person can choose a course whose focus is not like this. Usually, most private tutors, they train weaker students and their target is just to get you through about 650, 660, 670. But if you're targeting something like going to Harvard or MIT or Stanford or Wharton institutes like these, then you'll need a 750 plus score. For example, I specialize only and only in that department, that my institute's name itself is top 1%. So we don't want someone as a student, just giving an idea. So we really do not want someone whose target itself is under 700 on the GMAT. Similarly, on the GRE, if someone says, I don't want this big a score, my university is ready to take me at 318, 315, we say that no, you find a course that suits your needs. My course is geared towards a 330 plus. So I think what you should do is you should see the average scores that the institute has produced, and you should also ask the institute wherever you're joining, what is your exact focus. And if their focus is not on a 760 score or a 335 score, they'll tell that that is not a focus, and will be evident in the results also. So depending on, number one, what score you want, number two, what services you want. Let's say somebody needs only the material, somebody needs only videos, somebody says I want private one-on-one tutoring, somebody says I want doubt clearing support for verbal, which is very prominent because this is some. So it depends on that as well. But if I were a student in my student days, I would look at two things. One is the content really catering to what I need as a score, and second, is this really the type of institute that caters to the score I want. If it is not like that, I mean, if most students are scoring, let's say, below 325 on the GRE, most, I mean, see, another thing is, some institute might show you a result that is 10 years old. Somebody got a, let's say, a perfect score. So you should always check the most recent results for all the things that you're going for. Yeah, I think these two should be mainly the criteria. Apart from that, personal criteria always happen, that I want personal time with the tutor, I want this, I want specialized service, I want this, I mean, all of those things. So any institute that can really live up to that promise, you should join. You should not join an institute that is just good for let's say, good, if everybody's saying it is good. It should cater
Yeah.
to what you want as a student. And the evaluation can be very difficult. My answer would always be, don't go by the personal ratings on the internet that people write. Those ratings are not to be relied upon. Talk to an ex student if possible of the same institute, whichever it is, and ask very clearly, did it really help you, or did you get the score on your own although you were a student here? That I think can give a lot of answers. But
Yeah.
courses for GMAT, I would suggest, this is the kind of exercise you have to do. Materials, at least for verbal, stick to the official materials, not non-official materials. So this is the answer.
Because basically, it can vary from each and every student, like what
Yeah,
they
it
want
has to,
exactly.
because see, everybody's requirements are different. I have some people who are so weak at quant, and we say that if you're so weak at quant, probably this is not the very best course for you, because we will, if you're very weak at quant, then you will really not be in the race to score a 750 plus. Despite that, some people show a lot of promise and they join and they do very well. But that kind of clarity should be there from the student side. The student should ask the right questions and take a very calculated decision, because every institute is not meant for every student. I mean, you go buy a car, I mean, you can't just say that this car suits everyone. It is dependent on the requirements. Same logic applies. The phone you want to buy, it doesn't suit everyone to buy the same phone. Same logic here also. So yeah, I think two things. One, what score I want, and is it really the score that the institute has been off late producing? And in that case, will I get the services that I want from the institute? These two should be. Yeah.
Right. So, sir, if there are any three things that you want to tell to the student who is starting to prepare for GMAT or who is in process of
Okay.
preparing, that he or she
Right.
should not do, so what will they
Definitely.
be?
One, you should never follow your intuition. Absolutely never follow your intuition. For everything, there's a process. I mean, you can say that for grammar, I mean, whatever sounds right is correct. Otherwise, why would grammar be tested? If grammar is what sounds correct is right, then it will not be tested. Reading is not that, oh, I read the passage and I get the answer, because the passage is anyway given to me. So what is there to really test? But in that case, the section will not be tested. So it is about not going by your intuition. The exam, particularly GMAT, not GRE so much, but GMAT, is out to challenge your intuition at every level. Even in quant, we are very sure that math problem mein kya, what is it? I mean, there is math always. But no, it's not like that. Even in math, a lot of times you can just go wrong if we follow our intuition. So one thing is, you should never follow your intuition. You should follow some set processes that are totally logical, and that somebody can replicate on the exam day. Suppose I tell you a technique to solve a passage today, and that passage can be solved, but the next passage can't be solved. So then that doesn't work. So one is this: never use your intuition, always use a process. Second, always be consistent. Consistent means, let's say I say, okay, in a week I want someone to study for 20 hours. Now it could be interpreted that Monday to Friday I don't have the time, Saturday, Sunday I'm free. So Saturday I'll do 10 hours, Sunday I'll do 10 hours. This is 20 hours. It doesn't work at all. You should study 3 hours a day. So every day, if you study 3 hours a day, that is 21 hours a week. That is perfect. So be very consistent, because this exam, or both these exams, GMAT and JRE, they get postponed multiple times. There is no fixed date. So for the CAT, one thing is that, oh, it happens on, let's say, 23rd November. You can't help it. Next time it will happen next year. GMAT, people can postpone after 10 days, I'll write, after 15 days, after 1 month, after 2. Same with GRE. So Indian students never feel completely prepared ever. Like, they will never feel that, oh, this is and that is why consistency is the key. Don't lose out on steam. You will not believe, Muskan, there are students who joined me last year in January, and this year they're joining again, and 12 months they didn't do anything. I mean, they started 5, 6, 7, 8 times, but they just couldn't finish. So this is not something that I would say. Consistency is the key. You can finish the preparation in 3 months. And the third thing is, never refer to material that is irrelevant, and refer to a very, very standardized kind of content that has been, let's say, collated by some expert. Never ever refer to random materials, because it is an exercise in futility totally. Never works for anyone. So content should be very crystal clear and well defined, and this is it. You study this. Another thing, don't trust your friends and peers if they have not scored. When, let's say, people make these WhatsApp and Telegram group, everybody is as clueless. If somebody has scored a 780 or 770, then you talk to that person. That person's guidance is good. But if you're asking a friend of yours who's also struggling in the same fashion, and there are people posting questions of the day and this and that, you solve, all of those things don't work here. Social media doesn't help, because public opinion is of no use in these exams. So really focus on some experts' guidance. Whosoever that expert is, that is totally somebody's call. But genuinely, and keep a timeline of 3 to 3.5 months. Don't drag these preparations, because it's very easy to drag. I think these are the tips I'd like to give to you.
Yeah, I think choosing a wrong material will, like, I even some of my friends, they chose a wrong material and that wasted a lot of their time. So I think, yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. And it is so frustrating that you study also, you
yeah,
are sincere also, but you are not really getting anywhere with it. And there are courses that are targeting only a 500, 550 level score for you. Because in the US, if you want to go to a decent or above or average college, 550 is also okay, actually, on GMAT. In India, 750 is also not okay if you're an Indian, and Indians always would like to go to a better school. So, same thing with the GRE. So do not choose a course that caters to a different score than the one that you're looking at. In fact, always go for something that caters to a very high score. Being Indians, we need very high scores on these exams. Yeah. Any other thing, please?
yes, sir. So, sir, a lot of students ask that for getting a good score, will is guess doing a guesswork a good idea or a bad idea? So, what are your views on that?
See, there is no way we can skip a question on the GMAT, and on GRE you can skip, but guesswork is fine, because when you just don't have any idea, what else will you do on GMAT? You can't skip anything. So anyway, you'll have to mark all the answers. So there are 31 questions in quant and 36 in verbal. Anyway, if you don't know one question, let's say, then you will have to do the best guess possible and move on. The only idea is, do not waste time beyond the stipulated time on that question. So if you are guessing also, wasting 7 minutes also on that question, then there's a double whammy negative here. So if you're guessing, move on in 2.5 minutes, and that's it. But yes, sometimes one has to. What else can you do if there is a question that you have no idea about, like absolutely no idea about? In that case, one may have to really do the guesswork. But
Yeah,
very rarely, if you're very well prepared, I don't think there's any guesswork needed in that case. Very well prepared students don't need. Yeah.
right. Okay, sir. So, according to you, what is considered as a good GMAT score?
Okay. Now this depends on your profile, and this also depends on the business school that you want to go to. Let's say the highest score business schools in the world are Stanford, MIT, Harvard, Kellogg, Booth, Columbia. These schools really want a 750 kind of score because their average itself is in the 740 range. Wharton is one more school. So they are generally called the Magic 7 or the M7 schools in the US. If you're targeting those business schools, in that case, you'll need a 750 plus if you are from India. There is no question about it. But not everybody wants to go there. Not everybody has those as dreams. So somebody, let's say, wants to go to Canada, Schulich. There's a very good school. That is 710, 720. You want to go only to ISB, let's say. Now, ISB will not require a 770 kind of score. ISB is okay with 710, 720. So, my answer is there is no particular good GMAT score or safe GMAT score unless you take the business school in consideration. Same applies for GRE. Like if you want to genuinely go to MIT or Stanford to do your computer science from, these universities through the GRE, you need a very high score. Sometimes 336, 338, I've seen. Even that kind of score is very, very important. I've seen people at 335 also not making it. So the score cannot be a universal yes no, that oh, this is the only score you can say it's safe. At Stanford, even a 740 is not safe. At ISB, 720 is also safe. So it depends on that. I really don't. So with the school, what you can do, if someone wants to know this answer, either they can connect with someone like me or go to the school's websites. The average is published always. If you're an Indian, add 20 points to that average. So that is the safe score, because Indian students are expected to score very high normally. Yeah.
Right. So there's one question that it struck my mind right now, that there are many virtual MBA programs as well. For example, I
Right.
saw Wharton taking out their
Mhm.
virtual program. So is it like of the same level like the programs that are there considered
See,
physically?
I
Yeah.
think Muskan, the only problem is industry acceptance here. The day industry acceptance starts for this kind of a virtual MBA, I think it will become an equally good program. In terms of teaching, I don't think there's a major difference, but in terms of placement, I do believe there will be a massive, massive difference. At least right now, people who go to the campus spend those 2 years in the campus, and this is a different experience altogether, and it is very handsomely rewarded right now. Maybe in 3 4 years we enter a world in which education goes like 90% online. We just don't know the kind of times we are living in. And I can say that you're taught the same things, but the rewards are not the same, at least for now. The same
Right.
structure, same material. Even let's say you'd want to do a data science course. Now everyone is doing data science only online. Now, why is it that if you go to an MIT, let's say, like Massachusetts Institute of Technology, which is the very best in the world for all tech course, and you do an MIT residential full 1 year or 2 year program, either masters in analytics or business analytics or MBA, why are you better off than someone who did it from Udemy or some? The answer is Udemy may actually get Wharton on board or MIT on board, but the industry will not accept it as much. You may get an entry level position, but you will never really rise that level. You'll not get the absolute top quality jobs that come in. So as of now, maybe in 3 4 years we have a different world and they become acceptable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. All right.
Right. So these were all the questions from my end. Is there any advice that you would like to give to the students who are planning to prepare
Okay.
for GMAT
Yeah.
from your end?
Yeah, yeah. So two, three things. One, start early. There is nothing called too early. Okay, on this exam, second year, third year, both years are totally acceptable. Now, someone who's not in second year and has already gone into third year, it's perfectly fine. You can start in third year. Don't wait till the fourth year, as we've already discussed. One. Second, always be consistent. If you drop your preparation in the middle, you will probably take 5 years and the exam will never be over. It has happened with people. They come back to me after 5 years also and they still don't do the exam. So this another thing. As we discussed, study the only relevant content. There is so much irrelevant content available. Fourth, this is something that I didn't cover. Focus on depth rather than practice. Many people are of the view that if I, let's say, learn something in grammar, some idea about sentence correction, a little bit here and there, and then when I practice 1000, 2000, 3000 questions, automatically my accuracy will go up. Let's say somebody in quant is weak at probability or coordinate geometry. I mean, these are standard topics. You cannot you cannot, let's say, practice a lot of probability without learning what it is and how it is solved. So some people make this mistake of practicing a lot because the internet is full of so much practice, so many platforms, so many blogs, so many forums, etc. So please don't practice before you have mastered something. That mastered means, suppose I can solve a question in 5 minutes, but I can solve it. That is called mastery. And then I want to solve it in 30 seconds or 1 minute or 1.5 minutes. That can be done by practice. Let practice never be a tool to improve accuracy. That is second. And always have a timeline in mind. Always have a score in mind. Don't start preparing कि देखते हैं, चल करते हैं, सोचते हैं. That way, never nothing really happens. I've never seen anybody who's very focused without a target. इनसे 700 आ गया तो यहाँ चले जाएंगे, 720 तो ये 740 तो it doesn't work like that. You have to really feel that no, I want to go to, let's say, the absolute best in the world or whatever your target is. From that, work backwards and finish the job whenever your deadline is in your mind. If you decide, let's say we are in Jan and somebody says by May, I will no matter what knock it up. In that case, let it not be in June, because this is very easy for us to postpone this exam. And it doesn't matter in the short run, but the long run results are pretty disastrous, because then we get into the habit of postponing only. As you probably also mentioned to me over the call,
Yes.
that you just keep postponing sometimes. Let's not do so. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much for your suggestion, sir. I hope it helps a lot of students who are in
Yes.
preparing
Yes.
for GMAT